the World Championship Marathon
Yeah.
is typically a marathon that the big dogs don't go to, right? Especially on the American side, you would rather get
Mhm.
that paycheck from Chicago, from Berlin, from New York, from wherever in the fall, as
Mhm.
opposed to building up for a world champ. It's not like that for the Olympics, but for world champs, it's not, the same.
Mhm.
But for Americans, the world champs are in America. They're in Oregon. And
Mhm.
I started talking to some of the athletes at Boston. Colin Benny, who was top American at
Mhm.
Boston, him and his coach were eyeing trying to be on that world championship team. And now we just got news that potentially Galen Rupp would prefer to run at the world championship marathon, which
Mhm.
kind of for him even makes more sense because it's where he grew up, right? It's in Eugene where he went to school and all that stuff. So what are your thoughts on the new report that Galen Rupp potentially could run on the World Championship marathon team?
Yeah, it makes sense. We talked about this before. So Sarah Lorge Butler of Runner's World tweeted out that, quote, Galen Rupp plans to run the marathon at next summer's World Championships in Eugene, according to his agent. So plans to, obviously, you can read a lot into plans to uh, when it comes to people committing to races or not committing to races. But it made sense, especially at the stage of his career where he currently is. This would seem to be one of his last opportunities to get a medal in a major championship. You're right about world championships not holding the same level of prestige as a major, just in terms of the field that it is able to compile, or the Olympics. But usually between Kenya and Ethiopia, they'll send one or two top runners. Then there'll be some other folks on there that would be lower down on your list. And really, it's a lot of DNFs, is what you see in the world championships and the Olympics, because when it's not going well, especially if the weather's bad, they bail. But what I said before is what I still believe, which is in 10 years and 15 years, if Rupp or anybody else has a world championship marathon medal, no one's going to say, hey, how strong was that field that year, though, in 2022? It's a world championship medal in the same way it would be a world championship medal in the 5,000, in the 1,500, in the 800, or any other event. And I think we, as people who obsess over the fields, really drill into, well, how good is that field and how does that field match up to what he would have gone against in Chicago or New York or any other major marathon. But it's still a world championship medal potentially, and those opportunities in the United States obviously don't happen that often. Um, they will happen, here, and then I guess you could say the Olympics in 2028, but that's still a long way off. So it does not surprise me at all that people would jump at the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you
There's
say
a
World Championship medal, people don't put I mean, I put big ass asterisks on like World Cross Country Championship medals that people would love to say that. Um,
but this is
who was
different.
it that
This
had
is
like
different.
50 of them when they were
Bekele
comparing
has
him
a
to Mo
million of them.
Farah?
Bekele,
Bekele, yeah.
yeah, Bekele,
So
yeah. But that's a different championship entirely. That's in a different season entirely. This is still within the
okay,
construct of a track meet.
of the
Here's the
week,
other part of
yeah.
this. Here's the other part of this that needs to be considered. I think Rupp knows, and a lot of the other Americans know too, that hey, this is going to give us a competitive advantage because we're not going to have to travel halfway across the world, right? We're able to sleep in our own bed or sleep in a time zone that is familiar to us and then go and compete. And that's going to help us. So maybe some of these athletes in prior years would have been more likely to go if the conditions were more conducive to them finishing higher. And now they have that on a silver platter. We mentioned that within the discussion of track athletes. And hey, you could run an entire season next year and never leave the Pacific time zone if you didn't want to. You could just go back and forth between Mount Sac and Eugene and Azusa and all those meets, and you could have an entire season right there. I think for the marathon, that is obviously true too, because you don't really have a season leading up to it. They might have one tune-up race, but that's going to give them the competitive advantage over all these athletes who are flying in from across the world too. So it's a better opportunity to get a medal and a more meaningful opportunity for a medal too.
Yeah, and Galen, with the marathon course being in his backyard, will be able to literally know every nook
Yeah.
and cranny of that course. He's going to know He's going to take out a protractor and know the angle of every uphill and downhill. Hell, he could
Yeah.
even like set up booby traps that he knows, hey, don't run over that pothole because I put a
Mhm.
little sinking sand on that, and like he's gonna know like the most efficient route to go.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna like the cameras are gonna see the entire pack on one side of the street, and Galen's gonna be
Mhm.
on the other side of the street, and everyone's gonna be
Yeah.
like, why is he doing this? And then all of a sudden, he's like, well, there's a little bit of a gradient in like the,
Yeah.
the the cement has a little bit of some cracks in it, so it's better footing if you're on the left
Yeah.
side than the right side. So
Yeah. I like those three things combined, right? So he'll be more competitive. It's a chance to compete at home, and also just a chance to get a major medal, even if it isn't the same as getting an Olympic medal or getting a medal in the 5 or the 10. I think that really is just an indication that American athletes are going to run it, and I think it's going to be the best team we ever send to a world championship marathon because of all those reasons. Even if you lived on the East Coast, it's still an advantage because you can get over
yeah,
there once you qualify for the team and the USATF announces the team whenever we figure out when that process is ironed out. Yeah, you go over there and you can run the course a bunch of times, or you can go train out there for a little bit. And even if you are coming from the East Coast, you're adjusting to 3 hours versus adjusting to 9 or 10 hours.
yeah, and they haven't announced how they're going to select a team, but in years past, it's always been descending order list within a certain time frame.
Yeah.
Um, and typically, they just like if you they just keep on going down the list until they have three people who say yes.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure who currently are the top three. Do we know who the current top three in descending order lists are after?
Well, number one be Galen Rupp.
Yeah, so Rupp
For sure.
has a 206.35. Then Martin Herher has a 208.59. Noah Droddy 209.09, and then in fourth right now is Colin Benny with a 209.38. So that
Mhm.
second and third spot, very close, right? Herher 208.59, Droddy 209.09, and Benny 209.38. You have to think Benny is probably going to try to run one more fast race maybe next spring. Maybe
Spring.
he dodges
Spring.
Boston and goes somewhere like goes to London, or I don't know what London won't be open. They're probably going to find some local marathon, but there's
Well,
going to be a
something
nice little battle there for that second and
yeah.
third spot.
Yeah, something in Europe or something fast in the United States would
Yeah.
make sense because, you know, the marathon for the World Championships is mid-July. So you could do both. You could do a spring marathon, then do both. Women's side right now, the descending order list: Emma Bates, 224.20, Sarah Hall, 227.19, and then Molly Seidel,
No, that's not right.
227.46.
That's not right.
That's not
So
right.
no, so it goes all the
You
way
got to go
back to
back.
November 30th. So right now it's
Oh,
Hall 220.32, D'Amato 222.56, and Bates 224.20. So Bates right now is in third.
okay. So D'Amato was fourth on my list. She moves into the top three. So Seidel is out right now. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, because it involves the
Okay,
Marathon Project results from that
gotcha,
December 2020 meet. Yeah, so Hall
gotcha.
220, D'Amato 222, Bates 224, and then Kellen Taylor 225. That's your top four.
Do you think? I know they're not going to do this, but would you be in favor of if we could go back in time having trials for this?
I mean, they're not going to do it, but they could if they wanted to. They could probably like, have it like in Des Moines, right? Connected to like the Drake Relays or something in that April. Let people know, like, hey, this is our trials for the marathon. If you want to do it, you got to be top three at this
We change the
marathon.
rules.
Yeah, well, they
Everything
haven't
you thought you
announced the
knew was a
rules.
lie.
They
Yeah,
haven't announced the
I guess
rules,
you're
so they're
right.
not really changing anything. But that would be a. Would you imagine like a an April marathon trials would be perfect, right?
No, no, you could do it earlier. Why not do it? I mean, if we're just playing around here, you do it earlier. Wasn't Feb? It was
Okay, so
February
do it in
for
Houston.
Olympic trials. Yeah,
Yeah, do it in
or just
Houston.
run back the marathon project. Just do the exact same thing. Just invite a
Yeah,
small
well,
group of people.
people are running New York City, right? So you can't let the
Yeah.
people who are running New York get
Well, you
disadvantaged. So
can't do
that's
it in
why I said,
general because they've never done it. You can't do it because no one said the rules ahead of time. You could do it for the next cycle, but I
What
just
do you
think
mean
there's
you
going to be
can't
such
do it?
demand. There's going to be such demand for this race to get into this race that it would be cool to leverage some of that to get another trials setup race, which is it's fun. Everybody wins if there's more trials.